Tom, just before we get into it, for people who tune in in the 5 o'clock hour, the final hour of the show, wondering what's going on, I will mention, you heard the story on the news, there were some big cuts today at Bell, at BCE. Bell Media is a division of BCE. And one of those cuts sadly involved Natasha Hall, which is why she is not here today. It's been a difficult day. I've been talking about this since we signed on at 2 o'clock. I found out this morning. She called me. We have spoken. She's okay. Again, as okay as one can be, finding this stuff out on data like today. But, you know, I will tell you, Tom, I just heard Jason talking about this. So you have a federal minister now weighing in on the Bell cuts. There are 4,800 people who will lose their job today. And there are 45 radio stations basically being divested by Bell, being sold, and including 7 different regional ones in Quebec. You have the government, Pascal St-Onge, saying, well, you know, this is not right. We're going to look into this. And Bell, in the announcement today of these job cuts, says, you know what? They blame the government, the Online News Act that doesn't give them money, and a variety of other things. So there's finger pointing now both sides. And what happens at the end of the day, it's the workers who are the victims in this. And it's a terrible, terrible situation. And we've seen far too much of it in this business.
Yep. And I just want to wish all the best to our friend, Natasha Hall. It's been such an honor to work with her. She's always well prepared, so on the ball. It's been so much fun. I mean, the two of you together were a great act. I understood as I was driving in, listening to the show, I was really shocked. And I just sincerely, I know her enough to know she's going to land on her feet, but I wanted to give her all the best.
It's awfully nice. And so many people have done the same. Many, many text messages, which I forwarded to her just so you know your voices are being heard. And I'm sure she very much appreciates it. All right. Tom, as I said, been a tough day, but let's get to some of the news that's going on here. Starting with, first of all, what's this fight that apparently is developing between Valérie Plante and François Legault, and apparently Jean-François Roberge, who waded into this debate today as well. Valérie Plante came out the other day, and I think a lot of people agreed perhaps it was time again to talk about McGill and Concordia. She called it an attack on Montreal. The premier didn't take very well to this. Here's what he had to say.
Mrs. Plante doesn't care about French in Montreal. I don't understand why.
What's this all about, Tom?
Well, he went on quite a bit more in French in his remarks, and it was unseemly. I'm frankly, it takes a lot to shock me with François Legault because he's so ill-prepared. He is a personal fact-free zone. He just wings it all the time. So he goes on in French. He's on the streets of Montreal, and he's going into stores. And, of course, in his telling of it, you know, French is in deep trouble in Montreal, and you hear English in stores. He's not saying that he couldn't get servants in French. What he's saying is he hears people who speak English, and that bugs him. Can you imagine if this were Toronto and we had the Premier of Ontario saying, you know, I walk around in the streets and I notice people of all different colors and backgrounds speaking all sorts of different languages. Everybody'd be up in arms. It's almost as if, well, yeah, this is Legault and this is the guy with Bill 21 and Bill 96 and Bill 40 and everything else that he's tried to do. Yeah, maybe we've become, you know, systematically desensitized. This is outrageous that a Premier of a province is saying openly that the mayor of our largest city is not worthy of her function because she's not protecting French. All she's doing is saying that this great place that is Quebec depends on the strength and the vitality of its institutions like McGill and Concordia, and Legault is harming that. And good on Valérie Plante for standing up and getting really strong on this. And she didn't back down, by the way. She didn't feel at all intimidated. She came right back and said, of course I'm here to fight for French. But I'm also here to make sure I'm fighting for the vitality of Montreal. And shame on Legault, but Legault has no shame. This is a game that he's been playing. It's a race to the bottom between him and the Parti Québécois. Ever since he lost that by-election in Quebec City in October to the Parti Québécois, this is what we've been in for. And we just saw it today. This is the worst iteration of it. This is the worst version of it I've seen since it started.
You know, I mentioned when we talked to Jim Manny earlier, this when it rains, it pours analogy I think is perfect for what's happening to the CAQ. It just seems to get worse and worse every day. So here's one story. Don't understand why they're going after the mayor of Montreal. And that, followed by, we found out not that long ago, Geneviève Guilbeault, apparently someone on her staff did a pay-for-play routine, something the CAQ have been trying to do. I mean, this story broke a week ago, and they've been trying to focus away from this. But I'm wondering, so someone says a bereaved family, was told, if you'd like to meet the minister, It'll cost you $100 each for 2 minutes or whatever it was.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Come on, Aaron. Be fair.
I'm sorry. How long?
Be complete. 2 minutes each. So they had a total of 4 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
Thank you, Tom.
Come on. Facts, please.
Sorry.
Nothing but the facts, man. Look, this is exactly as you say. In your lead up to it, this is pay for play. You're paying for access to a minister. And by the way, I remember François Legault last week getting so upset about this. What, you're saying that I could be bought for $100? Okay, what? So we're talking price, right? We're not talking about principle here. So what's the price? Well, apparently 200 gets you 4 minutes. And by the way, if you think you've heard and seen everything in Quebec politics, what you might have missed, because I only heard it in French, I haven't heard it in English yet, Geneviève Guilbeault getting emotional about this. She's the transport minister, of course, the one that the people paid $200 to see so that they could talk about this issue. The bereaved family comes from the fact that a member of their family was killed by a drunk driver, and they've been on that as an issue, and they wanted to meet her. Mm-hmm. She was saying, this is terrible. I'm sort of going, she's going to finally say that this pay for play is terrible. She goes, because they were in here to talk about something else, and it wound up being about the CAC's pay for play. So she was trying to portray herself and her government as victims because people are talking about their skullduggery instead of talking about the issue that this poor couple came in to talk about. It was the world turned on its head. And this is something that Geneviève Guilbeault is very, very good at. And I simply couldn't believe that she was trying that as a strategy today to wiggle out of this thing.
Yeah, it was the strategy. Well, we're not really talking about that today, so let's not talk about it. That's not the issue at hand. So shift the focus, Tom. But let's go back to what you said about François Legault when he was first questioned about this. Remember this famous quote?
We put in question my integrity.
Yeah, well, we cut that last part out. Yeah.
If anybody is wondering what that last word was, it begins with SH and it ends with IT.
Yeah, and it's not a shirt.
Yes, and it's not a shirt. So this is François Legault playing victim. Same thing as Geneviève Guilbeault today. Oh, come on. We're not talking about the serious issues of transport. We're talking about other stuff. Can we please get back on topic? And Legault playing like the total victim. So I was told about this by people in municipal across the province. People knew that this was going on, right? But a lot of them were going to play along because it gave them a chance to talk to the ministers and to get their stuff on the table and to get the elevator, button pushed back and sent back up to them, so we got this and that and the other thing for you. Hey, this is a serious political scandal. What Legault did last week when he used that bad word on the air, he was trying to say, this is so serious, you're going to hear me swear. I mean, that was a technique, and it actually quite worked. People were saying, well, come on, this must be serious. He's using swear words now, and he's saying that he's pushing back, and this never really happened. How dare you question this? Oh, it did happen. So maybe you should start answering the substantive issue instead of trying to impress people with your knowledge of four-letter words.
Let me move on from provincial politics to federal. I saw this the other day, and I thought I want to get your take on this. So you've often said Justin Trudeau, solid politician, but sometimes in the House, not perhaps quite as solid as he is when he's out there giving a speech or something. So he gets up the other day, and I want you to tell me what you think of this. Yeah. Here's what he said. I guess this is an answer to a Pierre Poilievre question at some point. Here's what he said.
What we hear from the Leader of the Opposition is under the previous Conservative government, everything was perfect. And what he is proposing to do is to make Canada great again. That is not what Canadians want. He is pining for a nostalgia that, quite frankly, Canadians do not feel.
Tom, make Canada great again? Is this going to be the Liberal sort of handle on attacking Pierre Poilievre?
Yeah, and there are two interesting aspects to that answer, by the way. And he muffed it a little bit because in his lead up to it, he started saying, they're saying that everything was good with the Conservatives.
And they applaud. I thought that was great, yeah.
Yeah, it's an applause line for the Conservatives sitting across from him. So that was dumb. He was just supposed to get to if I understand correctly, you're saying, make Canada great again, which is a way of tying him to Donald Trump. Interestingly enough, he didn't even have to do that part that he muffed because Poilievre had given them the perfect opening because Poilievre was saying, this used to be like this, and now it's worse with Trudeau, and now it's now it's bad at Trudeau, and then the line worked beautifully. What he's saying is with them they'll make Canada great again, and then the Conservatives were a little bit baffled. They weren't sure if they were supposed to applaud that because it was such an obvious thing. you remember when Candace Bergen, no, not the actress, the MP, there was a picture of her with her MAGA hat on, Make America Great Again. And so this is fair ball. And I think that Trudeau's not listening to the people, like the former ambassadors to the United States who said, be careful using Donald Trump's name, as a bad word. You should show a little bit more respect because it's a big movement in the United States and he could very well be the next president. But this is Justin Trudeau being very strong-willed. He doesn't take kindly to being told what to say or do, and that's why he's been a successful politician. He's in his third mandate, after all. So he's decided that he's going to make this a thing. He's going to go after Poilievre, tie him to the Republican right in the United States. And Poilievre played right into his hands recently when he voted against the trade deal with Ukraine. Ukraine was asking for the deal. Everybody in the House, except the Conservatives, voted for it. Poilievre managed to make up a story that this was, it's because of the carbon tax in there. Well, the only reference in there is to something that Ukraine's been doing for 11 years. Ukraine wants to join the European Union, and it's a very good idea for them to have a deal like this because economics and environment are together in all of these deals, and Ukraine's just following the lead of the other European countries. So Poilievre is completely offside with history, voting against Ukraine. But, hey, Tucker Carlson was there with his buddy Putin. The American right is in love with Russia and in love with the Russian invaders, and it is something that I'm absolutely not able to explain beyond the fact that it is, again, something that the right has decided to do. They've thrown in their lot with dictators and with despots, and these are countries that don't respect anything, including the rule of law. They've attacked a country, an independent country of Ukraine, killed tens of thousands of people, and somehow Poilievre doesn't find the will to say, you know what, Ukraine's asking for this free trade deal with Canada. We're for it, despite our own reservations here at home about a carbon tax. I think that this is going to hurt Poilievre long term.
Don't know what kind of alternate universe we're living in these days, Tom.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you so much.